Farrell built his legacy at Princeton from the ground up. Following a standout collegiate career at Notre Dame, where he was twice an All-American in the 880, Farrell's coaching career began at Christ the King High School in New York. There, he established a girls program that won several championships, including the AAU Eastern Regional cross-country title. In the fall of 1977, he was called to Princeton as the first full-time head coach of women's cross-country and track and field. Within a year, the program gained intercollegiate status, and from there, 4 decades of success. The new program got off to a hot start, winning 11 Ivy League titles in his first 6 years on campus. His first recruit, Lynn Jennings, went on to become the first American woman to win an Olympic medal in a distance event. The Tigers won the league Triple Crown during the 1980-81 academic year and replicated that feat exactly 30 years later, starting with the 2012 cross-country title. The Tigers reeled off 5 HEPS cross-country titles in a row from the mid to late 2000s, and no team was better than the 2009 squad, the first and still only team in Ivy League history to accumulate a perfect score of 15 at the conference meet. All told, Farrell coached 55 All-Americans who led his teams to 4 Mid-Atlantic region cross-country titles and 2 top 5 finishes at the NCAA cross-country championships. Farrell is the 4th Princeton coach to be inducted into the USTFCCCA Coaches Hall of Fame, joining Larry Ellis, Keen Fitzpatrick, and Fred Samara. Please welcome Peter Farrell to the Coaches Hall of Fame.
Thank you so much, Leroy. It's good to go first because you can't compare me to anybody else, and I'll set the bar fairly low. So the first thing I want to do is recognize the band. I had Eric Clapton on lead guitar, and we had Keith Moon on drums, and Ben Strobing on bass. Wait a minute, Ginny, is this the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame? No? Oh, sorry, wait. Let me change things here. All right. First thing, break up the tension a little bit, but anyway, first thing I want to do is recognize my classmates. I'm 74 years old, and I have a new set of classmates. Do you believe that? I'm thrilled to be part of this group. Where I come from, Princeton, we do a lot of stuff, or a lot of big things with reunions of classes. So what I want to say, Don, John, Dr. Nancy, Dennis, we're going to have a reunion for the class of 21, 25 years from now. I expect you to be back here. It'll be in the year 2046, and hopefully maybe we'll get a 50th in the year 2071. So I'll give you a call, all right? But anyway, what you want to know is how did a scraggly-haired kid a street kid from Queens, New York, get to stand up here? Yeah, so do I. So thinking about it, I have to look at the answer, and the answer's right in front of me. A guy named Bill Farrell can't be here. He's a Princeton track athlete. He was on the team in '77, and he found out that Princeton was going to start a women's program. He knew that I had coached and started a women's program, high school track program in Queens, New York, and he called his high school coach and said, see if Farrell is interested in coaching college. So the coach asked me if I'm interested in coaching college, and I said, well, I liked high school track. I loved college track. Then he said to me, now hold on, this isn't just college, this is Princeton. Whoa, okay, a light bulb went off in my head. And through the whole process, I was lucky enough to land at a place where I never had a reason to leave. In fact, a newspaper man interviewing me after a couple of years said, you've had success here, do you want to move on to some bigger time program? And I said, my actual answer was, you can bury me right here, because I'm not leaving. Princeton was a great place for me, and a great place, period. My 2 daughters are Tigers. And I'm the 4th to go into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, into the Coaches Hall of Fame. I did some research. When Keen Fitzpatrick, you saw his picture, went into the hall, I was the person who did the research on him, and I was amazed. He was the track coach at Princeton from 1910 to 1930. But in the year 1898, he was the head track coach at Michigan, and Princeton lured him away from Michigan. He was the head track coach. He was also the head football coach, and he was also, Jasper, the head trainer at Michigan. So don't tell me you're busy, because this guy set the standard. My other colleague who's also in is Fred Samara. Fred Samara, as you know, is one of the greatest coaches in the country. I don't know if anybody has won as many conference titles as Fred. Really an amazing, and by the way, we started Princeton on the exact same day. And we've had that relationship going on for 40-some-odd years. And then the great Larry Ellis, who many of you looked up to. I certainly did. First African-American to be a head coach in the Ivy League, and I'm proud to say, my mentor. In fact, when Fred Samara heard that I got into the Hall of Fame, he sent me a one-line blurb email, and it was, "Larry is looking down, he's very proud. Larry." Okay, so again, getting back to how do you do this? Number one, get yourself a good publicity agent, okay? Somebody who can fill out forms, somebody who can pump you up and support you. And I had a guy in my program, Mike Henderson, who just, did an amazing job with that. In fact, as my director of operations towards the end of my career, he was doing 85% of my work. So people said, "Why are you retiring if this guy does 85% of your work?" Which he did, but thank God he's moved on to Cornell, where he's the head coach. Thank you, Mike. Okay, after you get a publicity agent, you got to get past the committee, all right? When the Princeton alumni heard that I'd been going to be inducted into the Hall of Fame, one of my better alumni runners dropped me a note saying that the committee better take a hard look at the standards they've been using. So that's how they think of me at Princeton. But anyway, I know some of you are here from the committee, and do you take PayPal or Venmo? Oh, wait a minute, you're old school, so the check's in the mail. All right, next thing you need to have, let me think, you have to have a model. Somebody you can model yourself after, a role model, so to speak. What did I have? I had my brother, Tom Farrell, right over here. You may have heard of him, two-time Olympian. We call him 24-karat Tom because he won gold most of the time, though he got a bronze medal in Mexico City. If you want to know more, if you don't know him, want to know more, just look up his Facebook. It's just wallpapered with his results. Okay, so this is, if you don't mind me a second doing some humble bragging. In 1972, Track and Field News, the Bible of the sport, did a column article in which they figured out the top brother combination of all time in every event. This is 1972. And I look back at my career and Tom's career, his 145.6 in Mexico City and my 147.1 at the U.S. Nationals in Bakersfield are the top. Now, I've been a student of the sport ever since, and I've not seen anybody top that. Any brothers top? Is Walt Murphy here? But anyway, more than that, maybe a village in Kenya or maybe a fjord in Norway, but we stand on top. And by the way, Tom, that's not about you and it's not about me. That's about Mommy. That woman could fly long before Title IX. Okay. Next, what you need is you need to have coaches. You need to have a rival. You really do. You need to have Army, Navy, UCLA, USC, Ali Frazier. Princeton had a very natural rival. This, I think, makes your experience as a coach and develops you in the right direction. We had a natural rival in UPenn. UPenn, large school, Princeton, smaller school, UPenn, urban school, Princeton, sort of a small town, suburban school. They had a rivalry going back to the Paleolithic era. But when I first started coaching, I bumped up against Betty Costanza, who was the UPenn coach for a long time. And I'm not going to say that she's a pioneer, because that's too trite. She was an original, believe me, she was an original. But you need to have, we knew every year, first Saturday in February, she would come in with the team loaded for us. They were absolutely just nails. And it was the hammer and tong, we went at it, and all I remember was it always came down to the relay, it always came down to the triple jump, and it would be red and black on one side of the track and orange, red and blue on one side of the track and orange and black on the other, and there's people yelling at each other, and just what competition and track should be all about. And years later, I ran into her athlete, and she said to me, for the Princeton meet, nobody was allowed to be injured. You couldn't be hurt. Betty would go in and clean out the training room, get on the bus. We're going against Princeton. And I mean, to me, that was respect. And then one time when the meet came to a close, there was no longer a viable meet, she said, where are we going to get our qualifying performances for the conference and for regionals and for Easterns? It was just a very, very great, tight, tense competition. And I was proud to say that I belong to a league. Betty's one of my best friends. So is the coach from Yale, Mark Young, and Lou Dusing from Cornell. She put it this way: we work hard and plan all week to go against our friends on the weekend, and it's just, we come out of it with friendship, so I feel great about that. Anyway, I'm getting the high sign that I got to start moving along. Next thing I want to talk about, here I got UPenn people sitting with Princeton people over here. See what I've done? That's good stuff. Anyway, next thing I want to talk about is coaches' kids. Those of you who coach and have kids know where I'm going with this. The world's changed. It's no longer 9 to 5. Everybody has to work 8 to whenever. Everybody has to travel for their job. But look what we do. I mean, cross-country, indoors, outdoors, summer camps, recruiting. It's just way much for us to ask of our children to, persevere through what we have to go through. I have 2 kids. Please stand up, Susan and Virginia. All right? Susan and Virginia. No, remain standing, quickly. No, remain standing. What I wanted to say is that that's not it. A lot of jobs have that. But more importantly, we as coaches, if coaching is anything, it's emotional investment, and that's what it is. And you have to share that emotional investment with hundreds of surrogate children who you developed, who you brought along. And you did that, and I really appreciate that. And I want you to know that, thank you for your patience, and thank you for your understanding. I don't have much to offer you other than tomorrow, we're going to Disney World! That's all they care about. I know I'm running out of time, and I asked the announcer that if I do run out of time and play music, make it Motown. All right? But anyway, now, those of you who feel that these conventions are a little out of hand, a little too much, I want to offer you this. And my first convention was 1985 in Houston, Texas, the TAC convention. And I worked hard. I was in committees. I was learning a lot about different events. Then it came time at the end of the week to go out and blow off some steam. And Gary Schwartz, the old coach at Kansas, Penn State, Tennessee, who was the president of this organization, said, Peter, you ought to go to Studebaker's Pub, because anywhere where the girls ask me to dance and they play 60s music, it's okay in my book. So I went there, walked in the place, and I saw a face. I saw a face that caught me. But of course I needed a beer, so I went to the bar and I said, can I get a beer? Well, I was standing there, I got a tap on the shoulder, and this very pretty face said, could I have this dance? And I said, yes, for the rest of my life. So you had coaches' kids, I had a coach's wife, and I knew from the start that this is the person. I waited until I was 42. This is the person who could get me to be a coach by being a coach's wife to coach's kids. She was there for the thick and thin, for the up and down, for the good and the bad. She even listened to my stories very patiently. She was just what I needed to be what I wanted to be. And I'm going to close by saying, look, I mentioned a Princeton track athlete who helped my career. I mentioned my father. I mentioned my brother. I mentioned other people who helped me along the way. But Shane, stand up, please. All I want to say to end this is that without you doing what you did and the support that you gave me, I wouldn't be up here. Hey, track and field's a great sport. And I beat the music. Track and field's a great sport. Take care of it.